All right, so let's talk about the Dragon Ball Super English dub. Right now, we are fastly approaching the dub version of the Tournament of Power arc. And we just got done with the episode where, well, two major events happened. Goku was reunited with Frieza in Hell, and we saw Kale, Caulifla, and Kaba, have that whole scene where Kale goes berserk and does her little Broly thing, and, they try to calm her down and whatnot. There were some very interesting things I want to point out here about the dub and things that I want to talk about here. Not just with this episode, but also some interesting casting choices. First of all, Ribrianne, I want to get this one out of the way, was not in this episode, but we found out that Ribrianne is voiced by Veronica Taylor, and Veronica Taylor is the voice of Ash Ketchum for the original Ash Ketchum for Pokemon. I totally am in love with that casting choice. She was also Berry Blue in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, and she was really, really good at playing this, I guess you can say, sassy old lady. Sound like a Sailor Moon villain, right? And she's a legend. I mean, most of us grew up with that original Ash Ketchum Pokemon voice, and I met her at the Broly premiere, and I remember on Twitter I put her over when I took a picture with her, and she's like, "Oh, it's such a pleasure for such kind words from the guy who knows everything," and I'm like, "You know me?" Like, I couldn't believe that the voice of Ash Ketchum said that about me. My heart fluttered at that because I couldn't believe it. She's such a nice person. So she's coming in. So whether or not you like Ribrianne, it's irrelevant. Her voice is going to be great by Veronica Taylor. And that's one thing I want to talk about real quick about Dragon Ball Super. One thing I love about this era of Dragon Ball is the people who are in charge of it now are absolutely fantastic at picking the right voices for the right characters. I can honestly tell you that I have not been disappointed with any of the choices they've made recently when it comes to this franchise as far as voices go for the new characters. Case in point, we got to talk about this. Dawn Bennett as Kale. Dawn, if you're watching this, you are a queen. I was wondering when they first aired the Japanese version of this episode, a year ago, I was like, who could they get to dub this voice in English who can do the high pitch, "Oh, I'm so afraid"? I'm not a good voice actor. Well, I would be an okay actor, just not for Kale. I'm not Dawn. I'm not as talented as Dawn is when it comes to playing Kale. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, who could play this character? Who could do the high-pitched Kale and then do the angry roar, Broly, rage-out Kale? And, dude, Dawn Bennett is perfect for this character. This is perfection here playing Kale. I was really impressed, and I cannot wait for Dragon Ball Super episode 100 when she rages out against Goku and everybody else. I cannot wait to see that on screen. She is incredible. I mean, I can't put her over enough. Dragon Ball is in good hands right now with people like Raleigh Pickens and Sabat and Justin Cook and these guys, because they really care about producing quality work. It's not just a paycheck to them, and you can tell because they want to get voices that capture the character and that they don't have to sound exactly like the Japanese, because that's very hard to do, but the idea behind Kale is that she's this cowardly girl who, she wouldn't even step on a roach if it was in her house. But when she rages, and I love that about her. And Dawn Bennett was, I can't even tell you how great she was. Elizabeth Maxwell, Caulifla, she captures that perfect, young Goku, rambunctious character who's always looking for a fight. I mean, she pretty much is the female version of Goku. That's pretty much what she is in Universe 6. She's always looking for a fight and to get stronger. She's kind of a goof. She was great. She was great. And, of course, Clifford as Kaba, he reminds me of the Supreme Kai when he first showed up in Dragon Ball Z, how he's so confused but he's just rolling with the punches. He plays that character really well. In this episode of Super also we saw Frieza come back, and we saw Frieza come back in a couple ways because Linda Young returned to reprise her role not as Frieza but as Baba, Fortune Teller Baba, and it was good to hear her again. And Daman Mills is actually voicing Frieza in this episode. Obviously, Chris Ayres is the original voice of Frieza for the modern era of Dragon Ball in the English dub world, and he did voice Frieza for the movie, but his health fluctuates. It goes up and down, so because of that, Daman Mills will be stepping in to voice Frieza when Chris Ayres cannot, and he did voice him in this episode. It's unfortunate because I really wanted Chris Ayres to have a scene with Linda, because there's a scene in the next episode where Frieza and Baba are in the same room, and I really wanted them, even though they wouldn't be in the same studio recording, it would be a cool little wink to the fans to have the classic Z Frieza and Chris Ayres Frieza, but it's just not in the cards because of the illness, and it does bum me out. I'm happy that Daman Mills is getting work, though. Daman Mills is so talented and so versatile that I do believe that he's going to have a resume as big as Laura Bailey should he choose to stay in this business, because he can do, I mean, obviously, you know, I've heard a long time ago that women voice actresses can get more work because they have more range. Somebody told me that a long time ago, but Daman has so much range, Monaka, and now Frieza, that I can't see him not being a force in the business at some point in the future. Now, couple of interesting points I want to bring up about the dub. This is going to be the topic of discussion here. I'm sure it will be. If not, I'm recording this right after the dub episode aired, okay? So this may, by the time y'all hear this, it may already become a big deal on Twitter and on social media. So Caulifla and Kale being gay, all right? In the Japanese version, it was only hinted that Caulifla and Kale had a thing. It wasn't outwardly stated. Obviously, Toriyama is not, and he's said this himself, he's not the best guy when it comes to creating love stories, okay? He's not good with doing romantic stories. That's why in Dragon Ball, most of the romantic stuff is off screen. Vegeta Bulma, 18 Krillin, you see some of the Videl Gohan stuff, but most of it's off screen. Toriyama has admitted this before. Now, when it comes to Kale, that was not a Toriyama creation, that was a creation of Toei Animation, Shueisha, to capitalize on Broly's popularity. And many felt that at the time that Kale and Caulifla were hinted to being a couple or having some kind of, you know, like a gay relationship, lesbian relationship, because of kind of the way they were acting in their chemistry. Well, in the English dub, it was straight up like stated by Caulifla, oh, you think that I have a thing for Kaba? No, you know you're my number one, or something like that. I actually don't remember the exact line. In the Japanese version, she just calls Kale like her favorite protege. Like, she's happy that Kale's her protege, right? Her student, right? So she pretty much just straight up said like that they're a thing. And I don't know how people are going to react to it. I personally don't have an issue with it. The only thing that could be an issue is in the future, if Toei decides to pull back on this, if Dragon Ball, when Dragon Ball Super comes back and they bring these characters back, if they decide to, you know, change their mind or something and then give Dawn like a boyfriend. I mean, they could always say she's bi, so it doesn't really matter. But it's interesting, again, very interesting that they went so far as to just outwardly make it so that Caulifla and Kale are an item. You know, some people thought they were sisters in the Japanese version because Kale refers to Caulifla as sis, but that's just more like, you know, like when I say bro, it's not like you're my brother, you know, literal blood brother. But that being said, I thought that was a very interesting scripting choice that they went ahead and just said, screw it. Obviously, in the United States, more and more, you know, LGBT stuff is being way more prominent in entertainment than it was years ago. Japan, in some ways, it's there, but it's not as progressed as it is here, from my understanding. So here they can just outwardly go out and just say, yeah, Caulifla and Kale are lesbians. It's whatever. Again, it will only end up being a problem if Toei decides, well, we didn't really mean for them to be a couple. Let's just not do it, and then they have something else happen with Kale. But no, in this version, they straight up were saying that they're together. Again, I don't know how the fandom's going to take it. I don't think it's going to affect the storyline too much, although I will say that there are certain scenes in Tournament of Power where it definitely seems like they're just really close friends and that there is a love there. But it could be a friendship love. Like, again, Toei did not outwardly make it obvious that they were a couple. You know, and actually, one thing I will say, too, is if you watch the Japanese version, it's almost like Kale had more of a crush on Caulifla, and Caulifla wasn't really reciprocating it that much. It was almost like Caulifla had Kale in the friend zone, right? If you really think about it. In this version, Caulifla is the one to straight up say, "Oh no, like you're the only one I want" or whatever. That was interesting. I don't have a problem with it right now. Again, I'm all for it if unless Toei decides to go back and change things. So either way, the episode was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what happens. Even though Daman will be voicing Frieza, I do hope that Ayers comes back to at least do the last episode, because that scene where Goku and Vegeta fight Jiren and they're teaming up, like that whole Namek saga like tribute, I would love it if it was Chris Ayers and Sean against Jiren. That would be just phenomenal for me. It would be great, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, overall the dub's looking good. Again, all the voices are great. Ray Hurd as Topo, I talked about him before. Deep man, very serious. I love it. I could be a voice actor, maybe. No, I'm not that good. Maybe I could. I'm sure I could do something. I'm not as talented as these people. I don't think I am, but I could do some voices one day, but not as deep as Ray Hurd. He's awesome. Anyways, these people are professionals. Maybe one day I'll try it, but not anytime soon. I do love my voice, though. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, good episode. Again, great episode. Good dub. And the Broly dub is fantastic. Go see it in theaters this week. And the Super dub is good, too. Can't complain. Can't complain right now. I'm sure people are going to complain about Caulifla and Kale, but, I mean, it is what it is. I'll talk to y'all soon.